Good morning, evening, or afternoon, my lovely people. It is me, your boy, TPT, coming at you, not live and not from Twitch TV. Would you believe it? It's time for another EU4 advanced tutorial. I know, guys, crazy. It has been quite a while, but I am back in black. I'm kidding, of course. Yeah, so I'm going to be obviously making another tutorial. This one is going to be on development. However, of course, before we get into that, naturally I have to give the shout out to the EU4 Casuals and the EU4 Australia Discord. EU4 Casuals for American and European players is a really great place to hang out. I made a lot of friends there, a lot of awesome people. And EU4 Australia is also really great for Australians. Obviously, you know, it's in the name. Surprise, don't seem too shocked, guys. And hell, as long as you avoid the politics channel, you should be just fine there. So, with that being said, obviously we're just going to jump into it and, you know, have a talk about development. So, what is there to know about development? Other than the fact that it's a suboptimal system designed by Paradox in lieu of a proper population mechanics, and that doesn't accurately represent the nuances of such a matter. We'll ignore that for now and decide not to discuss Paradox's game-making tactics despite their obvious flaws, and instead just move on to how development works. So, when developing, there's one important thing you really need. This is more important than anything else. Cheap. Developing has to be as cheap as possible. You want to get it down to a science, as efficient as possible. So I'm just going to go over a number of general ways of decreasing and increasing the costs. And, you know, if you want specifics, I will be linking the Wikipedia page to development. Not Wikipedia, sorry, the EU4 wiki, should I say, page to development in the comments down below for you to go check out there. So, first of all, you have, I'm going to cover this one first for a specific reason. That's because it's slightly different from all the others, which is the technology development. See, if you'll notice, it's not development cost, but rather development efficiency. That's because it's a multiplicative value, unlike all of the rest of the modifiers in here. So that's just something important to note, is that this one is slightly different from all the others, and that it's multiplicative and not additive like the rest of the ones I'm going to cover. The second lot is ideas. This can be both the idea groups, like economic, one of my personal favorites, as well as in your national ideas as well. Typically, economics 20%, national ideas I think typically range from around 10 to 25 or 20 off the top of my head, depending on obviously what country you're playing as. The next one obviously is policies, which again range from around 10 to, I think there may be one that's 20, but typically around 10%. Universities, once you unlock them, they're a nice, cool 20% right there, as you can see. Local development cost minus 20 for that specific province. Burgers, once you get the burgers over 60 loyalty with 60% influence, they also get minus 10%. You can get it with less influence, but obviously it does give less development at less influence. But they have to be over 60 loyalty, so keep that one in mind. The next one is edicts. So obviously, if you don't know, each province can have an edict, and you can grab the encourage development one. This is probably one of my favorite ones because all it costs is a little bit of money, as you can see here. It's like 0.4 ducats for your capital. A little bit more expensive for some of the non-capital provinces if they get too large, like this one here. But very, very nice nonetheless. Religion. There's a couple. You've got Shinto, Anglican. I think Orthodox also has one, and some of the Muslim schools is Tengri, if you have Theravada, blah 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 blah. I'm not going to go into all the specifics, but typically they provide 5 to 10%. I'd say most of them are typically 10, but I believe there are 1 or 2 modifiers which are only 5. Missions are another possibility. I don't know if England has any specific ones, but typically you can get dev cost. Normally I'd say it's local dev cost. I don't really tend to see a lot of missions which are all dev costs. It's typically within a specific region to fit with the theme of the mission. Terrain ranges from, I believe it's around plus 50% with glacial through to -5 for farmlands. Or if you play something like Anbenar, it can also go up to 10% as well with their urban areas. Now, obviously, that does include negatives, which I'll also cover in a second. But capital is another good one. So your capital can get varying cheapened development costs depending on how much country development you have, like how much development is in your country. Trade goods, so things like cloth and I believe cotton, I want to say, are also -10% as well. I think it's cotton. And cloth, so that's one of the reasons why I love England. All that beautiful cloth means a lot of cheap dev there. Prosperity, once you get prosperity, it should be, again, I think it's 10%. Yep, 10%. And trade centers, so if you get, like, so a level, level 2 is 5%, and then level 3 is 10% in the area. So that's in the entire area, by the way. Which is why it can often be worth it to move around your level 3 trade centers within your empire in order to most make use of that, because by the mid to end game, money will be worth infinitely less than monarch points. So there are a couple negatives which you do need to take into consideration. Again, terrain. So anything that is not grasslands or farmlands will provide a debuff ranging from 5 to 50%, with drylands, woods, etc., all the way up through to glacial. And also the climate of provinces as well. So you have to look at the particular climate of the province, which is shown down here. So this particular one is Arctic, but there's 3 others which are tropical, arid, and Arctic, ranging from 10, 10, and 50% each, accordingly. Devastation also does increase the cost of development, as well as being a primitive or a subject nation also increases it by, I believe, 50%. So you got to keep all those factors in mind when you're deciding on when to dev. So now, now a few things to keep in mind is the specific ones that you actually have to turn on. You always make sure you don't forget these. So the first one is edicts. Never forget to turn the edict on, because you can waste a lot of points forgetting to do that, particularly when you're developing institutions, which I'll cover shortly. As well as the policies. Make sure you turn your policies on. Make sure you turn your burghers on, obviously, getting them above that loyalty. Religion can also be a temporary thing, like with Protestantism off the top of my head. That's one that you have to turn on or off. And lastly is universities. You have to make sure that you actually build the universities in the correct provinces. So always make sure you consider that before you dev a province. Always try and consider that. Realistically, you won't find yourself deving a lot in single player unless there's some very specific circumstances. So if you're playing tall in single player, or if you're trapped in a very small area by very large people, obviously it's an option then. But realistically, mostly in single player, you're playing wide is objectively the better move. Again, only with some very, very, very specific or self-imposed circumstances. Whereas in multiplayer, development becomes much larger factor, as your expansion rate will decrease a lot quicker, as you'll have more contenders that can actually defend their land, because everyone knows that the AI is typically pretty dog shit. So the typical move when developing is to wait until you finish economic ideas. All right, don't start deving until you finish economic ideas, which obviously sounds very specific, but the meta in multiplayer is pretty much to go quantity economic. Like you go quantity, economic, and then quality. So after your second idea is typically when more people start to dev. The one exception to that, the big exception to that is when it comes to institution deving. When it comes to institution deving, if you're quite far away, say for example, Renaissance spawns here. If you're over in like Southeast Asia, saving up a bunch of points and deving the institution over in like Malacca is 100% going to be more worth in the long run, as it will save you a lot more points than if you were to spend that money on development instead. So always consider developing in the institution if it's far enough away from you. If you're in like Denmark or something, I wouldn't really worry about it. But if you're further than like, you know, here, if you're further than like here and you want to dev the institution, and it's in like, you know, it's Renaissance, definitely that is most likely going to be more worth it than, you know, spending the extra points and just waiting for it to get over there. You know, it's not going to be worth waiting for economic ideas at that point. So keep that in mind. So the typical meta with developing is to dev your provinces up to 20, or alternatively 21. I'll explain why in a second. So first of all, you know, you've got your you've put all your shit on, and you go to dev your province. You know, this is not how you're supposed to be doing it at all. By the way, this is completely wrong, but I'm just going to show it as an example. So typically you'll either want to dev it to 20 or to 21. The reason is because of the building slot, and that, so obviously, you know, you now have 5 buildings here, but see, if it wasn't grasslands, you'd only have 4, so keep that in mind. 4 buildings is around how many you'll need, because you'll want, you know, like you'll want a training field, you'll want a counting house, you'll want a manufacturing, and typically you'll want one of the other ones as well, depending on obviously what you're playing as. You know, like a townhouse is a really good one, or, you know, maybe a stock exchange, or a conscription center is a really big one in multiplayer. So you typically go up to 20, and then once you go to 20, you move on to the next province, the next cheapest province. Make sure they're all stated. Of course, you have to make sure they're stated, so that you know, and then you look for the cheapest province that is stated. So you go to click sort by development. You go here, sort by development. Look at this one, Cornwall. Okay, is Cornwall the cheapest? Oh wait, no, sorry, I meant to click this here. Kent. Where's Kent? There we go. Kent's the cheapest. Look at that. It's also a cloth and farmlands as well. So that's really beautiful. So, you know, just drop it up to 20. Now, the reason you sometimes go to 21 is because of the fact that if you like to exploit tax dev, you don't exploit either of the other ones. Exploiting the other two is pretty much never a good idea. Or if you want to exploit some tax dev, you know, then you've still got, you've still got that 20 development. So you don't have to spend more points to get it back up to there. Now, when it comes to developing, there's a very easy priority. All right, manpower and Diplo, and then if you get like a step ladder and climb down for about 20 minutes, you'll find admin down there. You know why? Because admin is crap dev. The reason admin is crap dev is because it increases the price of the other two, and it's pretty garbage as well. There's only 2 advantages to admin, alright? You've got the Crown Land, which you can get from Diplo, and you've also got the Force Limit, which you can get from Diplo. And Mill. So realistically, you never really want to be admin deving because it's increasing the prices of the other two. And if you are admin deving, you should be exploiting it right away. So if I want admin dev here, I'm just going to take it, suck it right away. Alright, don't even bother keeping it there, because you've also got to remember that there is a 2-year cooldown as well. So you can, you know, if you have too many admin points, literally just chuck it away for some money, because Mill and Diplo are the important devs. Manpower and lots of money instead of a little bit of money. That's, again, this is all assuming you've already, say I'm playing English, this is already assuming you've got economic ideas, by the way. So don't do it in 1444 like I am. That's a bad example. Now, like I mentioned, I did mention about the trade centers. Swapping around your level 3 trade centers between provinces in order to cheapen the dev around the mid to late game will be worth it. It's only, you know, it's not a lot of money. It does cost a little bit of prestige, you know, but it's only about $1,000 to swap it around to different places. And frankly, points are worth that much when it comes to that. You know, it is worth more than that. Oh, by the way, sorry, I should mention that Mill is worth more than Diplo as well. Mill's the most important. Diplo's just a close second, and then tax is right down at the bottom. Because manpower is everything. Now, again, you have, because when you're deving, you're not deving for the money, you're deving for the manpower. Money is secondary in deving. You don't, so contrary to popular belief, you don't actually dev for money, because by mid to late game you'll already be swimming in it anyway. So there's no point. So once you get, you know, your cheapest province to 20, again, well, look, this is assuming you haven't moving around in capitals, but just go to the next cheapest one. So what's the next cheapest one? What do we got? Lincolnshire. All right, let's go to Lincolnshire, and let's do the exact same thing. You know, just focus on these two, grab one of those, and then sack it straight away. You know, get it up to 20, and then go to the next province. Just keep on. This is how you do it. Just go to the next cheapest province, Leicester. I can't remember what that is, but you get the idea, right? You just keep on going each of the provinces, and then once it's up to 20, you go to the next. Now, if you do run out of provinces to dev, build universities in your cheapest provinces again, and then dev those to 30, because that's, you know, the next build slot, and then repeat the process. So say we've finished all of our provinces are at 20. Oops. Well, you know what you do? You go to the next cheapest one, you build a university, and then you bump that bitch up to 30. And you just keep on doing it. Keep on keeping on. And you'll be making a lot of racks on racks on racks after you're done with that. You know, it's good money, which you don't really care about, but it's good manpower, which you do, because manpower is really, really important, especially with the massive change in mercenaries that Paradox has implemented. Mercenaries aren't as good anymore. So, I think I've pretty much covered everything I want to for this video, so hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Be sure to join the Discord if you have any questions for me. I will actually be probably streaming today, about an hour after this video goes up, 8 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time. I will probably be streaming EU4 as well, so be sure to check it out. Alright guys, if that's all for today, I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Peace.